Hey, what's up you guys? We're gonna work on this environment prop in 3ds Max and Substance Painter, so please give this video a thumbs up and share it around if you will. Alright, so we're gonna start working on this dome in 3ds Max, and we're gonna start off with something basic, which is gonna be the base of the pillar. So this pillar is gonna be really a big part of this dome, and we're gonna try to create something simple using the method that we call edge extrusion. And of course we're gonna keep holding shift all the time in order to extrude these edges. We're gonna use the move tool and the scale tool in order to get this done, and for the most part it's gonna be easy, it's gonna be simple, nothing complicated, and it's gonna be something that is gonna help us to create something nice with little work and in a short period of time. So this is gonna be interesting. So already we finished the base, and as you can see, it is we're not gonna be detailing all of these things to a high extent. So right now we're gonna also create we're gonna start working on the pillar, and as you can see here, we're gonna activate the auto grid in order to create the this cylinder exactly on top of the base, and we're gonna delete the polygons that we don't need, and of course we're gonna do the same thing we've done to the base, and we're gonna apply the edge extrusion method. In order to do this, keep holding shift all the time, and we're gonna keep moving up until we get to the top. But in our way, we're gonna try to create some interesting details. So as you can see here, we're trying to move up and in and out in order to create these details, and you need a reference, or you need imagination as well. So if you want to create something from your imagination, this is gonna be good as well. Or if you want some references, you can Google it and you can find a lot of reference images that will be just fine. All right, so right now we're trying to create extra details in the center, and as you can see here, probably we're gonna add a few lines in order to do this. Probably we're gonna try to extrude these areas here, so we're gonna select them, and in order to convert edge selection to polygon selection, you just need to keep holding shift or keep holding control in order to actually shift the selection from edge selection to polygon selection. All right, so or you can do it manually if you want to, but I don't recommend that because it's gonna take a long time. Okay, as you can see here, we're trying also to add some details up there. We're gonna use some edges, add selection right there, use some loops, and we're gonna do basically the same thing. So we're gonna select these polygons right there, and we're gonna extrude this using we can use the extrude tool, or we could use the bevel as well, because it's going to do the same thing, except that the extruded polygons, we have control over their size. So this is gonna be an addition to the basically the bevel tool is similar to the extrude, but with an addition, which is the ability to control the size of the extruded polygons, which is nice. This is going to give us further control over the process of extrusion. Also in the center, we want to add few details, so we're going to actually add some edges right there. Use the chamfer tool in order to add these edges, and we're trying to create some rings in order to extrude them. So we're gonna do this process several times, as you can see, until we create the set of polygons we want to select and then extrude. Probably we're gonna use the same thing. We're gonna use the bevel tool as well as the extrude if you want to, because the result is probably going to be the same. So I don't think that it does make that much of a difference. But if you want to actually be a little bit sophisticated and try to be a little bit accurate, I think the bevel is gonna give you some better results. Okay, now with the symmetry modifier, you can see that we can duplicate this pillar and create the other half, which is actually a smart move because we don't want to create things over and over. And the same goes for the base. So this one is going to be on top. I'm not an engineer, but it seems like the weight of the dome is going to be applying too much pressure, so we need something big like these pieces of rocks or concrete or whatever it is under or between the ends of or on the base and on the top of the pillar in order to make it work even better. Okay, so we're gonna duplicate the pillar that you can see here. We're gonna duplicate it 3 times because we only need 4 pillars in order to weight the in order to actually lift or keep the dome in place. Okay, so we're gonna try to create a cylinder that is gonna do this job. So this is gonna be on top, so we're gonna bring it up there. We're gonna probably convert it to a poly, but probably we're gonna change the sides to something higher. You can go with something like 40 or 50, it doesn't really matter because this here is gonna be big, and the bigger it is, the more sides we need. And of course we're gonna do the same thing here, the same trick, which is edge extrusion. Keep holding shift all the time and you will actually get the same results. All right, so this is gonna be interesting. It's something that is gonna allow us to get quick results, and it's gonna be interesting as well. Okay, so I think from the inner side or from the bottom of this roof, whatever it is, I'm probably going to add some details later, but for now we're going to create the dome itself using a hemisphere. As you can see here, we just set the hemisphere value to 0.5 and it will be ready to go. So delete the polygons that are going to be underneath because we don't really need those. And now we're going to try to add some further details. Okay, so here it seems like we have some extra pieces are going out of the top, and I think it's pretty interesting and it adds a lot to what we are trying to do here because it stands out really, especially from a distance. Okay, so the same thing goes here. So edge extrusion all the time, and as you can see here, this is gonna be a process that is interesting, and here we're gonna try to make things a little bit smoother, and we could have used the hemisphere, but I don't think this really needs it because using something such as the chamfer tool is gonna give us some interesting results as well. We don't have to actually go all the way to use some extra geometry that we don't really need, especially if it's not gonna get that close to the camera. Probably it's gonna be wasted, all these edges and polygons. Okay, so here we are, and I think we're pretty much done with the modeling. So right now we'll try to probably copy those pillars around, and we will be ready to go. So it seems like we have to actually create the interior of this roof because I would say it is gonna be much nicer if we do this, and it's gonna be actually better. Okay, so nothing complicated here, something easy and fun to work with. We're gonna try to select those edges. Probably we're gonna try to add few of these edges using the chamfer tool because we want it to be smooth. We don't want it to be flat because it's not gonna look nice. Okay, so I think we need to copy this pillar over here and we will be ready to actually start adding some support edges, which is going to be the next step. Make sure you copy those as instances because we don't want to waste our time trying to do the same thing to similar pieces of geometry over and over again, because it's not going to be good. Okay, so instances are going to allow us to have the same results doing it to one of these pieces, one of those instances, and the result is going to appear instantly on the other pieces, just like that. Okay, so right now we're going to open the Layer Explorer, and we're going actually to create two layers, one for the high poly and one for the low poly. So we're going to try to create a copy, and we're going to call it different name, and we're going to bring it back to be exactly on top of the low poly. So we want them to be identical in their position, and we want them to be exactly on top of each other. So right now we are going to work on the high poly version using we're going to actually add support edges. So for the most part we're going to use the Swift Loop tool in order to get this job done. And this tool is really swift, and it's going to allow us to get some quick, nice results. I would say the downside to using this tool is when the mesh we're trying to support is so dense and there are so many edges. Sometimes it gets confused, and it does not let us select exactly the edges we are going for. But with patience, I think you'll find this tool amazing. And you need to be patient a little bit when dealing with these circumstances, and you'll be ready to create something awesome. Alright, when it comes to these pieces here, I think we're gonna use the ring and connect tool because they're gonna be all similar. So probably we're gonna support them in bulk, which is a smart move sometimes. Okay, so I think the process of supporting the edges is done, and right now we're gonna have to actually work on the low poly version. So we need to hide the high poly version, and right now we're gonna work on the low poly version. Of course, in order to create the low poly version, we need to delete all the edges and the polygons that are not going to be necessary. So the areas that we think are going to be covered by the normal map, we're going to remove. All right, so this is going to be it. And of course, where you think there are going to be some extruded areas, and whether it be in or out, you need to get them, you need to remove them from the low poly version, because these are going to be covered by the normal map and the process of baking later in Substance Painter. Also, any excess of polygons and edges, they're gonna be removed, because this is actually a low poly version, and we need to keep as low keep a low number of polygons. But if you think it is too much and it is too low poly, you probably can make an exception if this is gonna be the case. All right, so when it comes to the dome here, we're gonna select every second edge, and we're gonna get rid of those. So keep holding Control backspace in order to do this. Okay, so also here we're gonna do the same thing. Probably we're gonna try to remove some of these, and for this one as well. So we're gonna, it seems like it's a good idea to keep it as it is, because it's a little bit high poly. It's a little bit big, but we'll try to get rid of we will try to get rid of those and see how it's gonna look. All right, not bad, but it seems like we can go with that, and we'll be fine. So right now we'll try to UV unwrap the low poly version, and in order to do this, I actually forgot to remove some of the edges from the inner part of this piece. But we'll try to go with that. Probably we'll be just fine. Okay, so we need to stitch the edges, as you can see here. In order to do this, you need to keep holding Shift and S from the keyboard, and you're gonna be able to stitch all the pieces together. And after that, what you're gonna do is you're going to actually organize these pieces, put them aside, until later we're gonna actually pack all these UVs together. Okay, so we'll try to put the smaller pieces inside the bigger pieces, and I'm gonna put them aside for later. Alright, so right now we're gonna try to UV unwrap this pillar. It's gonna be the same, no big deal, because we're gonna use the same principle, but it seems like we have some extra pieces here, because to be honest, this pillar here is actually we have so many 90-degree angles, and it's like a jungle of polygons here, but it shouldn't be that scary, because we can stitch all these together. We're gonna take out these circles, and the rest is gonna be stitched together. And these circles right there, we're gonna put them in we can actually put the smaller ones inside the bigger ones, and this is gonna save us some space. And sometimes I'm gonna pause the video because for stitching these small pieces, you know the principle, so we don't have to actually do this over and over again, if you know what I mean. Okay, for this one here is gonna be pretty straightforward. I think it's gonna come clean from the first attempt because it's obviously all 90-degree angles, so we don't have to do anything other than trying to organize these pieces together. Okay, it seems like we have a little bit of pieces that we need to actually organize here, and we're gonna put them to the side and we will be just fine. Make it a little bit smaller, and we're gonna use the checker texture in order to make sure that the size is correct according to the rest of the pieces. And since the other pieces are instances, the same effect should take place, and we should be able to see the other pieces unwrapped. So when we apply the checker texture, it's gonna be actually ready. Okay, so for this piece right here, we're gonna be using different things, but for the most part, it's gonna be close or similar. So for these parts here, we're gonna try to isolate them because we want to take them out individually. Then we're gonna deal later with the rest of the pieces. Okay, as you can see here, we are trying to organize these pieces and put them together. Okay, this one here, we need to stitch all the parts. All right, for this piece here, it's gonna be a little bit different. We are not going to make it flat because obviously it's not gonna work. So we have to cut it. We have to cut it open on the side in order to do this. We're gonna use the pelt tool in order to do this, and we'll try a few times because it seems like we have an issue, but it shouldn't that big of a deal. So we're gonna give it another try and see if this is gonna work. Okay, it seems like we are going to actually go this way because as I said before, making it flat without cutting it open is not gonna be we're gonna deal with a lot of stretches and a lot of distortions, so this is not gonna be ideal for UV unwrapping. I think this is a good way to do it. If this dome was a little bit flatter, kind of more flat, I would say we're gonna keep it one piece, but other than that, we have to cut it open because I think, as I said before, is that we have some problems to solve. So we're gonna attach all the pieces together, and we're gonna try to actually bring them all to the same place, which we call the UV template. Alright, so right now we are gonna try to actually separate all the UVs, because I personally like to work with non-overlapping UVs, if you know what I mean. Alright, so we're gonna try to bring these UVs apart, because we want them to be in the same place. And we're gonna do this for all the pieces, no exceptions. All right, when we make sure that all the UVs are non-overlapping, we're gonna try to put them inside the UV template. Okay, so when we're done with the process of UV unwrapping, we're going to try to actually bring the high poly version and the low poly version of this dome, and we're going to name them. So this is going to be in preparation for the process of baking that we will do inside Substance Painter. So we're going to use a suffix which is going to be LP for the low poly, and the suffix which is going to be HP for the high poly. This is completely up to you. You can name them whatever you want and use whatever suffix you want. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing here, but this is what I like: something short, something concise, and something that can help me to differentiate between the two. So we're gonna give them some simple names like pillar, base, dome, roof, whatever, and you're gonna be ready to go in order to start baking your models, your low poly model in Substance Painter. So we're gonna try to actually keep changing these names until we actually get something similar, both names except the suffixes, and we're gonna be ready to actually start baking in Substance Painter. Okay, here we are in Substance Painter, and we'll try to actually bring the low poly version here. And as you can see here, we're gonna do a test bake real quick, and we're gonna bring the high poly version. We're gonna select it by mesh name. We're gonna use the suffixes that we use in 3ds Max, and we're gonna test bake it. So it seems like the bake is nice to a certain extent, and we have a little bit an issue of the dome right there, because it seems like it's too low poly for this type of geometry. So whatever, we're gonna keep going. I think it's gonna get better with a better bake. So we're gonna change these settings right here, and we're gonna bake it. And as you can see here, it took about half an hour or something. And we're gonna now try to add some textures. So we're gonna use this texture as a start. It seems nice. It seems like it's very well made, because it's doing a pretty good job here, as you can see. And we're gonna try adding some other fill layers in order to add some dirt on the edges. As you can see here, we're gonna use probably we're not gonna be using all over the place, so we're gonna try to use a mask. So for this purpose, we're gonna create a folder. We're gonna call it moss or something, and we're gonna give it a black mask, and we're gonna select only the base, only the bottom, in order to get that effect to take place only on the bottom areas, because this is where we want it to be. Okay, so right now we'll try to change the strength of that effect. As you can see, it's not that big of a deal. Something simple like that is gonna add to whatever we are creating here. And there is not much we can do here about the process of texturing, because Substance Painter is too strong, and these smart materials are gonna do the heavy lifting for us. For the most part, this is what we're gonna do. So right now we're gonna try to add some dirt that is gonna be all over the place. For this, we're gonna use a special generator that is gonna allow us to do this, and we're gonna actually separate this into two halves. So one is gonna be for the pillars, and the other part is gonna be for the dome itself, or the upper part. As you can see here, this is adding extra details. It shows decay and dirt in the same time. I thought this is gonna be a good addition, so why not doing it? Why not we do it? All right. So also, let's try to add this dirt layer here, or procedural alpha. As you can see, I don't think this is gonna work as well as we expect. So probably we're gonna remove it, and we're gonna use we can use a generator, or we can use a smart mask. I think a smart mask is gonna give us some good results. So as you can see, we're trying to create a folder in order to select only the area that we want, which is gonna be the upper part, because we already work with the other parts. And let's try to change the colors a little bit. This is see if this is gonna be a good thing to add right there. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe or share this video. Do whatever you think is gonna help us to create more of these, and I will see you in the next ones.